Spoilers, they be about the place. In 1978, director John Carpenter introduced the classic slasher film Halloween, that not only introduced us to the silent killer Michael Myers, but would also go on to be a box office success. This would lead to the slasher genre of horror to become a huge area focused on during the 1980s. Hundreds of Halloween copycats started to appear on our screens, and made a nice profit for themselves. But what about the father of this new boom period? When were Halloween and Michael Myers going to appear again? After all, Dr. Loomis had shot the lad 6 times off a balcony and realised the man was still out and about the place, so surely we would be getting a second one. And it was in 1981 that we would return to Haddonfield and to that Halloween night to discover exactly what happened after Michael took that swan dive off the balcony. So let's sit back, relax, and horse some food into ourselves and hit the like button and the sub one before we go back to that Halloween night to when Michael Myers came home. The movie film begins right where the first Halloween ended, with Loomis bursting in to pop a cap in Michael's ass and sending him right out the feckin' window. Loomis legs it outside, but only to discover that Michael spilled ketchup all over the feckin' place and has ran off. And then he shows just how much of a nutjob he is when this nosy neighbour asks him what the fuck is going on.
You don't know what death is.
If I were that neighbour, I'd be going inside and calling the cops on this absolute nutjob. It turns out Michael has just gone off for a bit of a creep about the place, and then sees that nutjob Loomis talking to the sheriff.
I shot him 6 times! This guy, this man, he's not human!
Seriously, Loomis is a total mental case altogether. No wonder Michael is trying to hide from this lad. Needing to protect himself from that daft bastard Loomis, Michael goes in and steals a knife off this owl one. But as he goes to get away, he gets distracted by this young one and decides, you know what, I've time for a bit of stabbing. So he goes in and makes her #dushed. The cops are over at the house Laurie was babysitting at, and she is being wheeled away on a stretcher. And one of the paramedics conveniently knows Laurie. Oh, I can just bet he's about to become a forced love interest. She's taken to the hospital where it's clearly run by Irish people, as the doctor is fucking half steamboats. But 'tis grand, as he just knocks Laurie the fuck out. And that's how she's going to remain for most of this film, as she just enjoys a bit of sleepy time through the course of it. Meanwhile, the sheriff and Loomis are out hunting for Myers, and Loomis starts chasing this lad who for no reason at all is dressed the same as Myers. I'm just going to pause the video here for a second, because I have to prepare everyone who's watching this for the greatest kill in horror history. Actually, make that probably film history.
He came out of nowhere.
No, he fucking didn't. He was clearly walking across the road and you ran him down, and then that random van just exploded. Like, this is the most ridiculous, stupid kill ever, and I fucking love it. Everything about it is perfect. How did the cop not see him? Why is he dressed as Myers? Why did the fucking van explode? Like, the film could end here and I would give it a 10 out of 10. But sadly, we have more movie film to get through, and also sadly for Sheriff Brackett, he finds out that his daughter Annie has been dusted. Back at the hospital, paramedic Jimmy goes to check on Laurie while she's sleeping, and is being a total creeper about it. Seriously, how is she not freaking out that that lad was touching her while he thought she was sleeping? That's not a cool thing to do, guys. Thankfully, head nurse Virginia tells him to stop being such a creeper and get the feck out of Laurie's room. But he closes the door after. Seriously dodgy vibes off this lad altogether. Meanwhile, Brackett is having himself a bit of a cry over his daughter's dushed body. Yep, she's dushed alright. And he's not happy with Loomis about this at all. Not one bit at all.
Damn you.
Sorry.
What have you done?
I haven't done anything.
You let him out!
I didn't let him out. I gave orders for him to be restrained.
Well, clearly no one feckin' ever believes anything you say, Loomis, cause you're a fucking nutjob. Well, not everyone, as the cops in this seem to just do what he tells them, even though he's a fucking idiot. In town, this young lad is going around with a feckin' jukebox and for some reason is listening to the news. Man, kids were into weird stuff in the 80s, although this does tip Michael off that Laurie is alive and well at the hospital. So off he goes to the hospital to do another spot of stabbing. Speaking of the hospital, we get a nice montage of our victims for the film. We meet Nurse Karen and security guard Bernard, as well as Nurse Janet and this pure lad Bud. Oh, he's some man for one man, he is. If you don't believe me, check out this dialogue.
Amazing grace, come sit on my face. Don't make me cry. I need your pie. Look, why don't you just shut up, alright?
But I will give it to Bud. He does tell Jimmy not to go off and get involved with a patient. But like, where was that advice when Jimmy was off touching up a sleeping Laurie? Michael is also at the hospital and creeping about the place while Jimmy is telling Laurie all about him. But wouldn't you feckin' know it, the damn phone lines in the hospital have gone down. Michael Myers, even though he was locked up in a loony bin for 15 years, is somehow an unreal electrician and knows how to cut the phone lines while keeping the rest of the power on in the hospital. I guess it's just like him knowing how to drive in the first film. You just never forget how to do something, even if it's something you've never done before. The security guard goes off looking around the building, and before he finds Michael, he gets attacked by a cat. And then a bunch of boxes have a go at him. Which is amazing filmmaking because it shows us that this lad is prone to an old sneak attack. Over at the old Myers house, a bunch of people are going feckin' daft. But I'm not convinced these people are that into it because there's not one mention of Evil Dies Tonight. I'm looking at you, Halloween Kills. That was fucking annoying. Of course Loomis shows up and has one of his rants basically going on about Michael being unreal. But some teenagers show up saying their good friend Ben Tramer has gone missing and that he was dressed up like some sort of fucking weirdo. Look at Loomis there, he's like, oh fuck me lad, we shot at him, hit him with a car and then fucking exploded him and made him all crispy. That was the fucking young lad. So now Loomis and the cops totally believe that Myers is still out and about the place. So off they go to chase him again. Back at the hospital, Karen is off to check on a patient, but instead finds Bud looking for the shift. Even though Karen is meant to be looking after a bunch of helpless babies, pervert Bud here somehow manages to convince her to go for a spot of riding and a bubble bath. But that divil Michael Myers starts to turn up the heat on them. So Bud goes off to check on it and ends up dushed. Why would that room be soundproof? Having just dusted Bud, Michael takes a feckin' age to slowly walk up to Karen. Seriously, I'm gonna have to speed this lad up a bit. He's fucking as slow as Christmas. And then Karen thinks he's Bud, so she decides to just suck on his fingers. And just look at his nasty, dirty hands. She's gonna need a tetanus shot after that. Although Michael has a quick cure for her as he burns her face off and makes her #dushed. Meanwhile, Loomis and the cops have gone back to the school and we learn that Dr. Loomis failed his Irish classes.
Samhain. It means the Lord of the Dead.
No it doesn't, because you didn't pronounce it right, Loomis, you twat. It's Samhain, not Sam Hain. This is a massive pet peeve of mine, but so many American films and shows get this wrong. At least the bad lad in Halloween 3 showed them how to pronounce it properly.
The Festival of Samhain. The last great one took place 3,000 years ago and the hills ran red.
The nurse from the first film shows up and wants to have a chat with Loomis. The governor wants Loomis back at the hospital because he's a loose cannon. He's a fucking psychiatrist. He has no authority to be hunting down a lad. This makes no sense. It's like he thinks he's a secret agent or something. They even have a cop here to bring him back. But back at the hospital, Jimmy is being creepier than Michael by standing over Laurie and being like, here, I don't know you all that well, but I feckin' love you. But sadly, Laurie doesn't answer him back because she's gone sleepy time with her eyes open. So Jimmy freaks the fuck out and gets another random nurse to come in and check on her. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hospital, Janet has gone off to find the doctor. But sadly, he's either gotten so drunk that he dusted himself, or that divil Michael has gotten a hold of him. Oh look, it was Michael, and it looks like that lad wants to play a spot of doctor. Ah, for fuck's sake, Michael. That's not how you play at all. You're not actually supposed to make them #dushed. With no doctor showing up, Jimmy and the random nurse decide to leave Laurie by herself. Oh, but then that divil Michael shows up and he gets tricked by the old bunch of pillows trick. He can cut the feckin' phone lines, no bother, but he can't tell a bunch of pillows apart from a person. It turns out Laurie's gone for a bit of a wander around the feckin' hospital, even though she's slow moving as fuck. And Michael must be happy about this because he's finally going to get to chase someone who moves at the same speed he does. Meanwhile, Jimmy has found poor old Virginia dushed as fuck. How did he not notice the feckin' pool of blood when he first walked in? And then he slips on the fucking thing like an idiot. Like, how did he even manage that? Anyway, outside, Michael has flattened the tires of all the cars in the car park, so no one can escape. Unless they just walk off or run away. I don't know why no one just leaves the fucking hospital grounds. But this random nurse, whose name I'm really not fucking bothered learning, decides to run back inside like a dope and runs right into Laurie. But then Michael botches his surgery skills on her. Fuck, Michael really is a beast of a man lifting her like that. But Laurie suddenly realizes she can hobble a bit faster now, so she gets the fuck out of there. And for no reason at all, runs down into the basement and bumps into the security guard's body. Hey, just like she did in the first film. Even though Michael is slow as fuck, he still manages to catch up to her, but then she escapes out this feckin' window. Laurie does manage to get away from Michael again by using the lift. Why he wouldn't just run a bit here and kill her makes no fucking sense. Is he worried that the other horror lads like Freddy and that would learn that he ran and make him cry like a fucking baby about it? Anyway, Laurie, being the fucking idiot she is, instead of continuing to run away from the hospital, hides in a feckin' car and then goes sleepy time again. While being transported out of the town, Loomis is just banging on to Nurse Chambers about the druids for some fucking reason. But Marion here is like, Loomis, here, would you wish? Would you stop? I've got a bit of juicy gossip for you.
That girl, that Strode girl, that's Michael Myers' sister.
Loomis suddenly realizes, oh fuck, he's gonna go dush Laurie. So he takes out his piece and fires it off like the loon he is and demands to be brought back to the hospital. Laurie, meanwhile, is still hiding in the car, which randomly turns out to be Jimmy's car, because of course it does. But Jimmy the twat falls on the horn and alerts Michael to where Laurie is. And then she falls out of the car like an idiot, just as Loomis and the cops show up. And of course, she can't raise her voice loud enough for them to hear her, but then when they go inside, she can suddenly shout her head off. Meanwhile, Loomis is being a right prick inside.
Go and check all the rooms down there. Go on.
Dr. Loomis.
You stay with me and shut up.
You can tell that back in the day, Loomis fucked. Michael shows up and Laurie gets a boost of energy to leg it the fuck away from him. Lucky for her, this door is the only one in town that isn't soundproof, so Loomis does manage to save her. But Michael Myers doesn't give a fuck about doors. And Loomis is like, take this, you fuck! And Loomis shows that he may be a total nutjob, but he's not stupid.
Stop! He's dead. No, he's not. Look at him. He's still breathing.
He tells Marion to go off and get help with the cop's radio, but the cop inside is being an idiot altogether and gets too close to Michael. Hashtag dushed. Loomis is like, oh fuck me, this lad can't be dusted at all, so he legs it off with Laurie. And then Michael once again decides to give a very slow fucking chase. This lad needs to do some serious fucking cardio. He's so fucking slow. Now, Loomis is a doctor, so I'm going to guess that he has a PhD or something, yet he still thinks that it's best to hide in a room from Michael instead of running away from a man who moves at the pace of a fucking turtle. And then he thinks it's best to give this poor traumatized girl a gun, probably because he's been having mighty crack altogether shooting Michael throughout the course of the night. Michael finds them and once again shows that he has no fucking idea how doors work. He knows how to feckin' stab someone, I'll tell you that, as Loomis gets it right in the fucking gut. And then Michael moves in for the kill on Laurie, but fuck, he didn't know she's an expert markswoman. How the fuck did she manage to get him right in the two eyes? She fucking dead-eyed him. With his eyes dushed, Michael just starts to swing about the place like a feckin' idiot. And Loomis decides to start letting out gas all over the room before going full cockney and demanding that Laurie gets out of the room.
Yeah, now.
And then he decides he's going to be the badass that finally kills Myers.
Time, Michael.
But Loomis has gone full action hero at this point, so it's a bit of a shame he didn't give a sweet one-liner like this.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
But Michael is the Human Torch, so he comes walking out of this explosion like the champ he is, before falling to the floor and ending up hashtag dushed. And yes people, this was officially meant to be the end of Michael Myers, so not a bad death I guess. In the morning Laurie is transferred to another hospital, and the movie film is dushed. I honestly hadn't seen Halloween 2 until a number of years ago. I don't really remember seeing it on TV as a kid or teenager. They would often only show the first Halloween, or oddly enough Halloween 3 on my local TV stations. So I've never had a massive amount of nostalgia for the Halloween series, so this was only my second time I've ever watched this film, and I can say it's not that great of a film. So let's get on with what I think is good in the film. The fact that the film kicks off where Halloween left off is a great choice. It gives the film a sense of tension right from the start, and makes for this to be a good two-parter with the original film. With Carpenter choosing not to come back, you'd think that the film would look and feel very different, but director Rick Rosenthal and cinematographer Dean Cundy pull off the look and vibe of the original perfectly here, and it only enhances the feeling that it truly takes place on the same night. Donald Pleasance is the MVP of this film as well, as the man is just acting like a raving lunatic. He's given out even more daft speeches in this, and yet he manages to draw you in with his unhinged performance, and his delivery of these lines are great. God bless you, Donald Pleasance, you really gave your all for these daft films. Carpenter also once again provides a great score for this film, but when doesn't the man produce a good score? It also does have some decent kills, as they do up the gore a bit from the original. And, like I said, it has the greatest over-the-top and funny kill in any horror film I've ever seen, with poor Ben Tramer's death, as everything about that kill is just fucking amazing. But saying all this, there's not that much more positives I have about the film, so let's move on to the bad. This film is kind of a mess in terms of the script. Like, you can kind of tell the Carpenter wrote this while being absolutely steamboats, because only a drunken man would come up with some of the plot points in this film. Like, let's get the big thing out of the way. The whole twist of Laurie being Michael's sister makes no sense at all. It totally takes away from the original film. She just happened to stop by his house in the first one, and Michael was like, oh, I'm gonna dush this one. He wasn't just standing there thinking, holy fuck, that girl looks like my long lost sister, that I would have no idea what she looks like, but somehow I can just sense it. And seeing how I dushed my other sister, I might as well go kill this one too. Like, you totally have just killed the idea of Myers being a totally unmotivated evil killer. When you take a step back and think about it logically, it makes no fucking sense at all. I get that some people think it's a good addition to the story, but I think it's just stupid. We actually never get to see Laurie finding out that Michael is her brother either. Just some weird dream of her having memories of going to visit Michael, which also makes no sense. Who the fuck would bring their foster daughter to see her older brother who killed her sister? Like, that's just bad parenting. Also, on the topic of Laurie, this film gives Jamie Lee Curtis nothing to do at all. She spends most of the film just panned out in bed while wearing what appears to be a bad wig. She's a great actress, so it's a shame she was reduced to this. And even when Michael is chasing after her, she barely gets to do anything but stumble about the place. Like, it kind of makes bringing her back for the film kind of pointless. And I have some issues with Michael as well. While I know that it actually is the same mask from the original, it just looks so odd in this film. I'm not sure is it due to the years of aging or the way the actor wears it, but it just looks off to me. And I get that the whole walking slowly is a well-known slasher thing, but Michael takes the piss in this film. Any normal person would be like, fuck this, and just run up and stab the crap out of people. Also, why does he just randomly go to the school to write Samhain on the board? Did he just do that to show Loomis isn't as smart as he thinks he is, because he can't fucking pronounce that word at all? Yes, I'm still not over that. The film is also full of those classic stupid characters like Jimmy, who manages to bust himself somehow. It's filled with all these kind of cliches that really stand out in the film today. The film ends up being very slow moving while having some cool moments, but unfortunately it falls into the same old rhythm as the original, and it does nothing new to stand out from the first film. So while I love the original Halloween, I can't say the continuation of that Halloween night does a whole lot for me, so I'm going to give Halloween 2 5 out of 10 Horshes. So what do you think of Halloween 2? Do you enjoy it as much as the original, or do you think some of the other sequels are better than this one? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please check out some of the others on screen now. And I'll see you next time when we horse into another movie film.